Alright, welcome to the sixth and final tutorial for modeling in 3ds Max for Rome Total War. About a year later than I intended on putting it out, but you know, what can you do? So what we're going to do today is we're going to get the model all ready to be rigged, and then we're going to rig it and export it. So let me jump right in here. First, what we're going to do is separate out all these pieces we already have. So we may as well name them as we do it. The spear is going to be primary weapon. Now the sword, select all three parts, detach, secondary weapon. Let's do the pauldrons as well. Detach, pauldrons. Let's do the skirt because one you'll see in a second. Don't really have to name that, but let's do this up here. And yeah, let's do this. You don't need to name that. And let's do the helmet, but not forget about the little inside piece. And helmet. Now we're going to, let's not forget about this. Attach scabbard. Now we're going to mirror the body. Use your mirror modifier. Copy. Go to your front view. It should be all lined up. Just double check, make sure. Convert to editable poly, and now you'll have a united mesh. Now we need to weld all these vertices together. You just have to be careful on the face that because the nose and lips are too close, that even at this low threshold they still could be pushed together, and you don't want that. You could just see how it's welding the vertices. And you should just, you know, if you see any of these move unexpected ways, then just undo. None down here, or we forgot to do the cape actually. Let's go to the back. Select all these for the cape. Apply. Oh, it's already done. Oh, slowing down a little bit here. Okay. We also have to detach the cape. Attach cape. Okay, now we have that. Let's do the same thing for the pauldrons and whatnot. You could see that the pivot point over here is right at the center. So we're going to use that to our advantage. And instead of moving it around on shoulder, we're going to go into scale. We're going to hold down Shift and scale on the X to make a copy. Right click on this, and we're just going to negative 3000. It'll scale it right over the X-axis. Let's do the, we can mirror that. And we can mirror that. Okay, let's do so. Mirror copy. Convert to editable poly. And mirror copy, convert to editable poly. Let's go through and weld the vertices on this. Over here, and let's weld the vertices on this. Okay, now we're about ready, but we still have some more work to do. We need to, let's start mirroring what we need to. Okay, let's go to the cape. You can see how this is the normal direction of the cape, but on the back side it's transparent. So what we need to do is detach that as a clone, as an element, and now we're going to flip the normals. And now we have that. See how you just flip the normals? Now we have, let's double the polygons, speaking of which. Let's just open our polygon counter here. Let's double the polygons, but it's necessary. It takes up too much room. So, where else do we need to do that? That's about it. Now we're going to, let's attach the body. Let's name this body. And let's attach the rest of the helmet. Now we're done welding vertices. You don't want to weld vertices on places like this jaw, the jaw over here, or like the edges of the cape, because that'll mess up your normals. So once you're done welding vertices, you're done. You don't want to go over and weld everything, and I'll also show you why. Let's go into the body, and what you need to remember is Rome Total War can only have one UV coordinate per vertex. So whenever you have on your texture, whenever you have a I may have gone over this, but I'm not sure. Whenever you have, say, this is the edge of the arm, and this is an edge of the arm, you need to have two vertices, one vertex here, one vertex there. Most other engines, you could have one vertex with two UV coordinates. So let me just show you how to do that. You just want to double check. It's already split up from elements from when we did our UV mapping, but just you double check, detach it to an element, it'll break any stray vertices. Like there was just one at the neck. I just saw the normal switch. Attach. And now what we're going to do is go over something called smoothing groups. Smoothing groups are, you see this, the hard edge over here? Ideally we wanted a smooth edge, so we're going to do the smoothing groups from scratch. I'm not sure technically how they work in Rome Total War, but this is, let's get it so it looks right in 3D Max at least. Clear all your smoothing groups. Your model will become hard-edged. And just take one at a time. And okay, now what we have here, when you still have an edge like this, even though it's smooth, means your vertices are broken. You can't have, I'll show you over here. There are ways to do it. I don't think it works in Rome Total War, but you can't have two separate vertices that share the same normal on the edge, through smoothing groups at least. So you see this hard edge over here, even though they're lined up. We have the same thing over here. So what we're going to do is just drag and select, and we can see we have three vertices. We should only have two. Let's just weld those together. Weld those together. And now you see it's smooth, but we need to double just to make sure. Now let's go back and just detach these as elements again, and if you just watch closely over there, no, maybe not, but that way you had one vertex with two channels, two UV coordinates. Let's just select these. And same thing over here. Here, and that's it for the body. Let's do these weapons. Now you'll notice on something like the spear over here, if I do everything in the same smoothing group, I get this strange distortion over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into polygons. We're going to select the whole thing. alt drag everything except the bottom polygon, and we're going to put that into its own smoothing group. And you see how this distortion disappears? It looks like a hard edge now. Okay, that's what you want it to look like. And we'll also do that over here. This is a little advanced trick. We want a hard edge over here, so we get rid of this normal over there, the normal problem. But yet we want it to line up smooth with the stick, with the shaft of the spear. So we're going to assign this to group 2, but we have this hard edge, so we're also going to assign this to group 2. And we're going to take this off of 1, assign it to group 3. Assign this to group 3. And now you have a hard edge over here, and it's smooth up for the spear. Now, let's just do that for the sword. Same sort of thing. All the polygons on this side. Let's just clear all these. It's a little hard running the screen capture in 3D modeling, slows down my computer down, so just bear with me a little bit. 1, shift select, assign that to 2. This should be all hard edges, and just select this element, because we want that to be a round edge, and we could just select this polygon on the bottom and assign that to its own smoothing group. And we can leave that. Okay, so let's just run over the pauldrons real quickly. We could also attach these together. So they don't need to be separate, and just put them all in smoothing group 1. Now, we should also just clean this up a little bit. We would want a hard edge over here. So, highlight the element, deselect all the 1 surfaces, and just assign the bottom ones to smoothing group 2. And now you have a much cleaner edge over there. Let's also do the same thing for the bottom of the feet. Again, I'm not sure how this is going to look in Rome Total War. Hopefully it all works, but maybe not. Let's organize everything. It's going to be hard to position this correctly, so with the pivot point over there, so we're just going to go adjust pivot, center pivot, turn it off, and now it's centered and we could rotate it a lot easier. Let's just rotate this a little bit. Also, local will help it rotate a little better, or help you rotate it a little better. I'm not going to spend forever playing with things, but you get the idea. Center to objects. Now you may have to adjust the exact angle of your weapons, but generally, if they point straight out, it'll be good enough. Pivot. Let's do the same thing for primary and secondary weapons. Line it up so they should lay right on top of each other. And just adjust it this way. There we go. We also have the, oops, also have this standard over here. I almost forgot about. Let's detach this, assign it as a clone, flip it, and we have it on the other side. Put this all in the same smoothing group. Now deselect those, so you just have the two top edges selected. Okay, and let's also just put this in his left hand if he's a standard bearer. I also suggest tilting this up or backwards when he lifts it up, but again, this is stuff you'll probably have to play with, or you may already know. You may already have an idea, or if you look at other existing models. I just haven't done any Rome Total War modding in so long that it escapes me right now. Okay, now let's save the file. Now we're going to start, let's just group this all for a second, and I'll show you why. Now we have to import an existing, we're going to run script. If you have this already in your startup, when you start 3D Max, it'll already appear. Or otherwise, just run the script. Utility, Rome Total War import a cast file. Import any cast file you know works correctly. Okay, you'll see it setting up on the bottom. Let's give that a minute. Okay, so now, oops. You could see that our model is 3,000 times or 300 times the size of, or 30 times the size of this. So what we're going to do is just delete everything from this guy we don't need, except the very basic body that'll give us some proportions. We may as well freeze it. And here, just for an idea, or actually not, I was going to show you the weapons, but so now this is why we grouped it. Turn on your snaps. You just press S. Turn on grid points and pivot. And what we want to do, oops, we want to put the pivot right on the origin. Where did our grid go? There we go. Okay, we put the pivot right on the origin with our snaps. Press S to turn your snaps off. And now, you remember it was 3 times the size, or 30 times the size, so it was at a 3,000 scale. Now in order to get that down, we just apply 1/30 scale to it. Let's see if this works also. Turn this off. We're going to have to reset the XForm. Nope, can't do it on a group. So we're going to ungroup it. Everything still stays fine. But when we click on it, it's the wrong, it's still a small scale. So just select all your geometry and reset the XForm. And now convert it all to editable poly. And it's all at 100%, which is what we want. Otherwise, it could give us problems later on. Okay, now save it once more. We're going to get into the actual skinning. Let's do the easiest parts first. But before we do that, let's just... the feet line up at the bottom, which is exactly what you want. And his hands about line up on the sides, exactly what you want. So let's unfreeze and delete. Let's just make sure there are no duplicates there. Okay, we're all good. So there are two types of skins. There's the skin modifier, which is a deformable, though not very much, but it's the deformable skin. And there's also attaching weapons and whatnot to bones. So we're going to attach first. So anything that needs to deform, such as the cape or the body, just hide it for now. And the bulges need to deform as well. Hide those, just to clear up our view over here. This is called select and link. What we're going to do is link the helmet to the head bone, or link this to the left hand. Link these to, make sure you get it on the bone and not a piece of geometry. Okay, and now we have the scabbard, but you have to be careful here. The pelvis and the seam root bone line directly on top of each other. So if we were to just drag this on top of this bone over here, it's possible we wouldn't know if it's connected to the pelvis or the seam root. We don't want anything connected to the seam root. So what we're going to do is go to schematic view, which shows a diagram. So you have your hidden items over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the scabbard, and this is the tool, connect it to the pelvis. So now you can see it's connected to the pelvis, and you could just see what everything's connected to in here. Actually, it looks like we have duplicate. I may already have had a skeleton in the file. So let's just take the primary weapon. This is also a good way to check. You can see everything in the file. It's important to do this, especially when you're starting out or when you make stupid mistakes like I just did. So it's the same bone as the secondary is connected to. Your right hand has your secondary and your primary connected to it. That's your scabbard over there. Okay. To get out of this, you can't just right-click. You can minimize it. You have to just right-click up here, where you normally would, and just change your view. Sometimes it can be a little tricky to get out of. Take all these objects, hide them, hide, unhide by name. Let's do body, cape, and pauldrons. Let's do the cape first, since it's the easiest one to understand. Let me show you skin modifier. Skin modifier is over here. You want to add the bones. Oops. Okay. Take geometry away from here and helpers. It's not actually bones. Bones are max bones. Rome Total War uses helpers or points. So you use helpers, and now just add the ones we need. 3 cloaks and the torso is what we need. Never add the seam root. So go to Edit Envelopes. This is an envelope, these large things. We're not dealing with envelopes because we don't need them. We're just dealing with vertices. So select vertices. Now here are your bones down here. This is the bone selected is the active bone. We will do the torso first. The important thing to know in Rome Total War is that each vertex can only have one bone affecting it. Most games can do 4 bones affecting it. Rome Total War only 1. So this absolute effect has to be equal to 1. You can click on your bone tools over here. Your torso, 1. Select these. Cloak top, 1. Cloak mid, 1. This floating bones palette or weight tools are very valuable. Don't overlook them. So now that's done. Let's just hide this. Let's do for the pauldrons as well. Let's just here. Now I'm going to show you something quick because the pauldrons could be a question. They could stay statically attached to the torso. This top one could be attached to the torso, and the one on the bottom one could be attached to the arm. They could both be attached to the arm. So all we're going to do is we're going to select go up here so we only select bone or points. Select all your points. Turn on auto key. Press the key button. Go to frame 40 or something similar, and just rotate the bone. And all that'll rotate is the bone right now, not the skin, because there's no skin modifier yet. So go back to all. You want to always save keyframes in your original. This is called a bind pose, your original skeleton pose. So skin modifier. Just to right upper arm, left upper arm, and torso. Now let's try two different things. Again, just go to vertices. You could just grow it so it covers the whole thing. And let's say this does the left upper arm, and this does the torso. And on this over here, let's say all these do the right upper arm. And now you could see when you see how these two interact, and you'll probably be able to see it better after we skin the actual body. So let's hold off that for now. Okay, the body's the trickiest part to skin, but it's really not difficult. And once you get some experience, it takes 3-4 minutes. Because almost all the bodies are the same. So let's add the bones. Add only the ones you need. And you don't need to add them all at the same time. So just for simplicity, let's only do the upper body right now. Leave the leg bones off for now. Again, do vertices. And what I always like to do is just take the pelvis bone. Because this is so simple, you're not using envelopes or anything. Take the pelvis bone and assign it a weight of 1 to all. And this way, if you miss any vertices, first of all the vertices will have a 1 bone weight automatically. And if you miss any, you'll be able to see at the end. Say you miss one on the arm, if you just select the pelvis bone, you'll be able to see a red vertex on the arm. So let's do the abs. You could see what the current, maybe you can't. Well, this is the abs bone over here. It's a little hard to see because the envelope is so big, but you can just figure out where they are. Just highlight it, 1. Let's do the torso. Instead of doing alphabetically, just work your way from the pelvis out. So it's not that important to be precise right now, on the more fundamental bones like the torso and pelvis, and the lower ones. And I'll show you why right now. Even we're going to reassign these as head bones, and it's going to take some experience to know exactly which ones, but generally, if you look at this bone, this becomes the pivot for all these vertices. So let's take this bone, and now remembering what vertices we assigned, this ridge over here, okay, you can see how they move. Oops, that actually didn't work. Oh, we assigned it not to the head. Head bone, there we go. So now you could see, actually, you could see how they revolve around this axis. So that's the way you think about skinning. Now back to the task at hand. Now we're going to do the upper arm. Again, it's not important to be precise because we're just going to do it. Now again, when we're doing the elbow, think about if this is the pivot point, what do you want to pivot? What vertices do you want to pivot around? and generally this is what you'll have for the elbow. And now for the hand is self-explanatory. And just quickly just double check everything as you work. Elbow looks good, hand looks good. And now let's do the other side. Upper arm. One, and you could see how, since we adjusted that bone, you can see how it moves. Okay. Elbow. Let's just go back. One, and left hand. One. Now let's add the rest of the bones for the lower body. Left thigh. Just highlight everything up to just to the side of the axis. One. Knee is a little tricky, or lower leg they call it. It's a little tricky because first of all we have this little overhang. Second of all, just to understand how it rotates. But what we're going to do is we're going to select these. We're going to deselect we're on the left leg, so just alt select everything on the right leg. And just go over it. And this part of the greave should rotate on the lower leg, so we'll highlight that also. And this would sort of be the kneecap over here, so we're going to leave that on the thigh so it doesn't rotate. And very simply do the foot. Now let's do the right thigh. One. Do the right lower leg. Again, just take off his kneecap. And the right foot. Now, just double check, go back to your pelvis bone. And it looks good. And just give a quick run through everything. Make sure there are no stray vertices anywhere. Oh. See, I overlooked. That was a stupid mistake. I overwrote everything. Just go back to your left lower leg. That was a poor mistake. Okay, looks good, looks good. Okay, and now let's unhide our pauldrons. And so we could see that we don't want these pauldrons intersecting, and it also doesn't look like they line up. Since we can only do rigid weights, we're going to need to find another solution for this. Scroll it out. Let's try how it looks if it's all attached to the upper arm. Let's try how it looks if it's all attached to the torso. I think the torso looks better, and let's just see if we rotate it up. Now it obviously intersects with the arm, but it looks acceptable. Otherwise, what your alternative is that, which looks a lot worse. So now, knowing that both of these will be rigidly connected to the torso, let's just not use the skin modifier at all and just link them. Go back to your bind pose, select everything, select all these keyframes down here, delete them, we don't need them anymore. Really what you could do is you could, let me undo that, you could go, and you could just double check everything. You could, pose all the figures however you like, or really you only want to pose them how they can animate, not like that. You can't do that. And see how it looks, and then just go back to the bind pose. But since this looks pretty solid, I'm sure, just delete them, unhide everything, and now go back to your utilities, Mac script, import export. We're going to export this CAS file. Actually, before we do that, let's turn off auto key. Go to your material editor. Take a material. Let me just reset this. Take this material, diffuse, bitmap, and we're just going to point it to our texture. Oops, that didn't work. Oh, this doesn't work because my screen capture program, I think. So use any texture for now, I think. Should work. Not positive. Should work. Don't quote me on that. Again, I haven't done this in a long time. Okay, assign it to everything. It doesn't really do an error. Here, you'll be able to see the texture. And obviously you'd use a finished texture, not this. And also the standard would need to be on the same texture, so you probably need to do a different texture for the unit. Maybe without the cape, you'd put in the standard or something similar. Now let's export. Make sure I export all instead of export selection. Let's call it Elf Warrior. And it exported. And now let's save it. Let's open up, or let's create a new Max document, and import it just to check. Let's give it a second to set up. Now, it's very possible, especially once you start doing level of detail units, which I'll get into eventually, possibly next week, that you'll have errors. I don't know. I don't have all the answers for them. I still get errors, or I used to get errors when I exported, but there you go. It works. And the smoothing groups didn't hold. They all seem to be smooth together, but it looks okay. What can you do? So I'm pretty happy with it. And as long as I'm here, let me just show you real quickly how you would do an LOD, or a level of detail. First of all, let's just hide stuff for now. Or here, I'll tell you what. Let me end this tutorial now, and I will go right into LOD units. Let's just save this file, or let's open up the last one. Seven. Okay, so have fun with that, and your last tutorial is coming up.